What started as a Saturday morning coffee date turned into a podcast where we chat about things like faith, family, finances, and so much more.
In a world that is encouraging you to live your truth and to follow your heart, we want to encourage you to live devoted to the truth.
The Bible has a lot to say about how to live a victorious Christian life, and we want to share practical insight in how to apply those truths to your life as we endeavor to apply them to our own lives as well.
If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a review and share these episodes with your friends so that you can help them live this devoted life too. Welcome to another episode of This Devoted Life podcast. We are excited to be here with you again today. In fact, as we were driving home from church this morning, I took a peek at our Apple podcast reviews and saw that we had gained a few more reviews. And so for those of you who have left us reviews, thank you so much. And if you are finding value in this podcast, we really would appreciate you giving us a 5-star rating, whether it's on Apple Podcasts or if you are watching us on YouTube, leave us a comment, give us a follow. Any way that you can just kind of help support this podcast gives us a little bit of an encouragement to keep doing it. So if you're finding value in the podcast, please continue to leave reviews and just comment and engage with us. We really enjoy talking with you guys. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. And again, like we've always said, the more we know about you and your interests and maybe what you want to know more about or maybe are struggling with or things like that, the better we can kind of tailor our content to help you out. And that's really what we're here for.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be talking to you about 5 tips for a tidy home. So this is not something that came easy to me at all. If you had seen my bedroom when I was a little girl, it was not clean at all. And I tend to be a little more of a creative person. And so James always laughs at me because when I bake in the kitchen, it drives him insane because it's usually a little bit of chaos. I always clean it up when it's done. But he's like, I don't know how you function.
In the midst of the chaos, it's just there's flour and sugar and just baking goods all over the place. But it does get cleaned up. And the fruit of your labor is always very tasty.
You are glad to try all of that fruit.
Yes, for sure.
Anyways, so I guess I was prefacing this with this has kind of been a hard-won battle for me because with more kids that we've added to the family and just being a wife and a mother, I have had to learn things that were helpful to me to help keep a home tidy. And now I find that when our home isn't tidy, it actually gives me a little bit of anxiety where I just am like, I feel like I can't breathe, between just the chaos of everyday life. And then you add in a really messy home and it can, I'm sure a lot of you can relate where it just feels a little overwhelming.
Yeah, overwhelming. And I am not necessarily like everything has to be absolutely perfect all the time. But I also am very much a person of order, and I love processes and things that are just, I always know where it's at when I need it, and I can just rely on that. So I will maybe take a little bit of extra time to set something up a certain way and always consistently do it that way so that I can just, again, it's more predictable for me and more predictableness is just a little less stressful. And even when it comes down to the shirts in my closet or the clothes in my closet.
If you've been following this podcast for any length of time, you know that James is very methodical in pretty much everything that he does.
Yes.
So it's funny because this is not in this, so this is a little bit of a freebie, but I remember when we were first married, our pastor down in Tennessee actually said, one great thing that you can do is ask your spouse, like, what is one thing that you want me to focus on that helps you feel like we have a tidy home? And for him, I remember him saying, like, I really enjoy when things aren't dusty. Like, it just was a random thing. Yep. So when I asked you, you said yours was floors. And you just were like, I just don't want to be walking on crumbs. You know? And so
like,
it's like
you can have like toys and things around the floor and, it doesn't have to be all perfect. But it's like if it's dirty, then it's just, to me, that's kind of the line where it's just, it just doesn't feel quite good.
And so that one thing is like, okay, I can vacuum, before you get home or before we go to bed or whatever.
And for you or maybe your spouse, maybe that doesn't matter at all. But the
maybe
point,
it's the
point
full of
is,
dishes or whatever. But ask each other exactly. And I think that's what we always come back to is just communication in this podcast. Communicate with your spouse and the members of your family so that where they're at on whatever topic,
Yeah, yeah. So we thought this would be kind of a poignant topic because we are going through a very busy time
We
in our
are.
lives right now. So just kind of, getting aligned well, and as we were getting aligned with, this is probably something good to share.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we'll kind of dive into the first point. So I have 5 just little tidbits that I have learned over the years that help me to keep a tidy home.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one is I read a book called How to Manage Your Home Without Losing Your Mind by Dana White. This was years ago that I read this. And the book itself, it wasn't something that was like mind-blowing or mind-altering for me. It didn't change a whole lot of what I did. But the one thing that she said, and this is tip number 1, is to time yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because usually the biggest hurdle to doing a task is you think it's going to take longer than it actually does.
Sure.
So what she recommends doing is if there's something that you're just like, man, I hate doing the dishes,
Mm-hmm.
time yourself. She was surprised to find that it took her less than 2 minutes to unload the dishwasher.
Yeah.
She was like,
Yep.
2 minutes. I can find 2 minutes in my day to unload the dishwasher.
Yep.
And so if there's anything that you are kind of dreading and you just take the time to time yourself for like a week in doing it, it might surprise you how little time it actually takes you to accomplish whatever it is that you're needing to do. And so that was a big thing for me, is some of these tasks that I was dreading, once I started paying attention to how long it actually took, it was like, oh, okay, that was 5 minutes of my time. That's really not too
Yeah.
bad. But that 5 minutes was well spent. And oh, look, now my dishwasher is emptied or whatever.
Yeah, and you can have that weighing over you or being heavy on your mind for far longer than you might kind of just have this like angst or frustration or apprehension of doing something for hours,
Mm-hmm.
or that just literally 5 minutes would have prevented you kind of really affecting the rest of your day, all that time. So
Mm-hmm.
it's something that, like you said, it's a little bit more manageable when you understand what it's about to take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you find times to accomplish those tasks, like if you get a routine or a rhythm or the habit of doing tasks at a certain time of day, that has helped too. You're a very habit and goal oriented person.
Yep.
I have had to ease into that a little bit more. So I have certain triggers. So like our next point would be putting the kitchen to sleep at night,
Yep.
which that is simply like before bed, before you and I just kind of like sit down and relax. I like to spend maybe 20 minutes putting
Yeah.
our kitchen to sleep. Does it always happen? No, but on the majority, I try to have the dishwasher loaded and the sink is emptied of dishes and I've wiped down the counters.
Mhm.
There might still be some other things on the counter. It's not perfect because we are not minimalists. I actually wanted to start this whole episode with that. We are not minimalists. So we're not coming at this from like a minimalistic
No.
standpoint. This is just how we personally have found living our lives helps keep a tidy home. But
yeah, and really, we're not like anti-minimalist. It's not like this is we're saying like minimalism is bad or not a goal, but it's just, we don't necessarily just focus or hyper focus on that. Obviously, we try not to be too extravagant on the things that we
Right.
have in our house and whatnot. But at the same time, the clutter and things like that doesn't matter as much as the cleanliness or just the plan.
yeah,
and the
to our
communication.
personalities. Now
Yes.
that might be different for you. So if, you are a minimalist and you want to do a one in, one out, which I've heard that's a great thing to do. If you're bringing something in that is similar to something that you have in your home,
Yep.
get rid of the other thing. Like if you're updating something, that way you're not just collecting all of the same things.
Yeah, I've
But-
actually been kind of doing that with my hobbies.
Yeah.
So if I want something new, I will go into the adventure room and all of my stuff, and I'll just kind of take an inventory of things like, I actually haven't really used that this year or the past 6 months or the past few years if it's a very seasonal thing. And so I'll grab it and I'll either give it away or, think of someone who might have some interest and, give it to them or, sell it to them for, very cheaply. Or if I don't really know anyone that would want it, I throw it on eBay and actually use that money towards the next hobby thing.
Right,
So
yeah.
again, not necessarily, that minimalist mindset, but that's kind of a good I think a good thing that I've actually done the past few years.
Well,
So,
we don't want our things to ever control us or
yes,
to get so out of control, so like while we're not minimalists, we do try to keep a handle on the amount of stuff in our home as
it's
well.
almost like stressful if you have a bunch of things that you aren't using.
Exactly. Yeah. So the third thing that I wanted to say was laundry. So we have 6 people in our home. So it's a lot of laundry every day. And the one thing that I started doing, this would have been maybe about a year ago now, or attempt to do, is 1 load of laundry a day. I try not to let it go more than 2 days. We just throw everybody's stuff in 1 load and I wash it. I usually do this first thing in the morning. I'll get up, I'll throw the load of laundry in first thing. By the time I'm done doing morning time with the kids, they will go downstairs and I will go and throw it into the dryer. That way it's dried, and I try to have it folded again by the time the kids get up the next morning so that they can put their clothes away during their morning routine. So
little pro tip, actually going back to putting the kitchen to sleep for you husbands out there, if you want some bonus points, like pitch in. I'm not saying that I only do certain things or don't do certain things or anything, but if you see a need, just pitch in. And like with the laundry in particular, and again, if you as a husband do the whole laundry, that's always go the extra mile. But there were some things that I didn't really love about the flow of the laundry. This is several years ago. This is as you were having kids and we were having kids, just so. And I didn't, you're a stay-at-home mom. And again, that doesn't mean that you have to do all the laundry or all of this or all of that. But the one thing that I thought, instead of me maybe being a little annoyed by certain things you were or weren't doing with the laundry.
He's just saying that it was left too long in the dryer and it was getting wrinkly.
Well, or it needed to be double and triple washed because maybe it spent too much time in the washer.
I will just own it. We went through a phase where that just was, laundry was not high.
3 little kids and another pregnancy and, whatever. So again, the point here is I actually started doing my own laundry. And again, it's not that I don't ever or can't ever do your laundry or the kids, but I only ever do for sure, as a minimum, my laundry. And so it's like, I do it the way that I want to do my laundry, and B, it's less of a stress on you, and it's just that much less that you not have to do, but that you do. And again, the same applies for the dishes, the cooking, any household task. Like, this is our household, and it's not just the duties that fall on you.
Amen. No, it's very often that I will come down from putting our youngest to bed, and he's usually standing at the sink loading the dishwasher and scrubbing a couple pans. Like that is a common thing in our home to find him doing that. So I love the encouragement to the men to just pitch in if you see a need. I've heard the phrase, if you see a need, fill a need. So that I like to try to put the kitchen to bed at night. And so you can help out with something like that. And you know that it's hard to keep up with laundry for 6 people. So you started doing your own laundry.
Right.
And it's not that, like you have to do those things. I would gladly do them, but you've seen the burden that is on me with doing those things, and you've tried to lighten that load as in the best way that you can.
Exactly.
So, I appreciate that.
It's just a good team effort.
Yeah. So the fourth thing that I have on here is tidying times or tidy times. So the kids and I have a certain routine where there's 3 times a day where we put things back where they belong, and we just tidy up. It's not a perfectly clean, but it's a tidy time. And one of the first time is I'll send the kids downstairs after our morning routine. So when I say our morning routine, that's usually part of our homeschool day. I'll sit down and I'll do Bible time with them, and we go through like picture studies, composer studies, that type of thing, read some books. Once that is done, they move on to subjects that they're able to do on their own. And I will then, that's usually when I'm changing over the laundry, I'll usually tidy up all the breakfast dishes. The kids help with clearing off the table and wiping the table down. But I'll go around and I'll tidy a few things just because things were gotten out during that time period before I come to our basement to do more schoolwork with them. So that's like a maybe 15-minute break. I usually make my coffee during that time and I just tidy up. And it's kind of like a little bit of time for me to decompress from having just spent, an hour and a half doing the morning routine with the kids. So that is one of our tidy times. The other time is before James gets home from work. I usually tell the kids, all right, guys, Daddy's on his way home. Everyone needs to pick up their stuff. Once again, it's just another reset for our day. Like, hey, let's put everything back where it belongs. Everything has a place. This is where it needs to go. And this is not always met with like, yay, I'm going to pick up. But they know, that it's expected right now. And so that's what they do. And they spend time cleaning up during that time. And then the other time would be right before bed. So the kids, before we sit down and we might watch a show before bed or read a book, or before they even go upstairs and just start brushing their teeth, we have another reset where I'm like, all right, guys, we've been having a fun evening. It's time to put everything away before we head upstairs and go to bed. And we'll walk around. So often I'm walking around behind them going, like, hey, something rolled under the couch. Here's this. And I'm teaching them how to spot the little things because it's so easy. They'll just go around and they pick up the big things. And I'm looking around at all the little pieces going, how do you not see this?
Yeah, it's clean, Mommy. Like it's all done. And you're like, no, I don't think it is.
But once again, we're teaching them how to do these things.
Right.
But those might not be the times that work for you. But if you can find times where you have almost like this trigger, ours is after breakfast, ours is before Daddy gets home, and ours is before bed. If you have just certain times of day where you pick up the home and just tidy, it does a world of good for not just continuing to have an unkempt home.
Yeah, and honestly, timing can be a big deal, not only for the effectiveness of getting it done, but also how it's received. And again, if roles are reversed, male, female, whatever, husband, wife, as far as coming home from work or different timing, but just for example, when you get the house picked up, with the kids before I get home, it's extra refreshing to walk into the door and just to a clean house or a picked up house. And again, it doesn't have to be done or whatever, but it's just like extra nice. And again, another little pro tip, it's like be thankful for that as a spouse. Thank your spouse for doing the things that they do, even if it's quote unquote, your duty or their duty or whatever, whether it's these like unwritten rules of who does what. It's like, still be thankful, still be appreciative. Gratitude goes a long ways. And I don't know, it's just, it validates some of the effort, I think.
Yeah. So often, like, you'll walk in the door and you'll say, wow, the house looks so nice. And in my head, I'm going, if you had seen it 20 minutes ago, but that's one thing that I do as an act of service in love for you is I know that you've probably had a little bit of a crazy day at work. And if I can take 20 minutes just to make sure that the home is a little more clean when you walk in the door, that way you're able to decompress better. And I mean, you do a really good job of not showing stress. And I know you've had a super crazy time at work the past few weeks. So being able to walk into your haven, welcomed by all of these kids screaming, Daddy's home.
Yeah, and that is awesome. I do not take that for granted at all. But
but if I can create a haven for you that is even just a little bit more just relaxing and calming, that's one thing. I mean, half hour after you're home, it's not calm anymore, and it's crazy. And there's probably stuff everywhere again because 4 kids running around and playing. Sure. Like it's just chaos sometimes,
little
but
tornadoes going around.
I know people keep saying we're going to miss these days, and I'm sure we will, but we are trying to instill habits in our children and in ourselves. Because like I said, I didn't start out like this. So there's hope for you if you are not a naturally clean person, which I guess can actually lead us into our 5th and final point is, if it takes less than 5 minutes, do it.
Yes.
So that is something that is so easy. There have been certain times where like I'm picking up or something and I'm like, man, I got to run this to the basement. And I want to so badly set it on the basement steps. And instead I'm like, okay, that's going to take me 1 minute to
Right.
walk it down the
Yeah.
stairs. So I take it down the stairs and I put it away and I come back up. It was 1-2 minutes tops. Or if there's something, wiping down the counters is my big thing
Yeah.
throughout the day.
Yeah.
I regularly spray stuff on our counters and wipe them down because I hate crumbs on the counter. It drives me insane. And so that is something it takes me probably 3 minutes to do, but it helps me feel like the home is cleaner. And
Yeah.
so the kids are always having craft projects. My son does his schoolwork there, and it's just, there's
Yeah.
always something. And so 3 minutes is probably the most that it takes for me to wipe down our
Sure.
kitchen counters. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that takes like a very minimal amount of time, or it's just like, don't throw your stuff on the floor of the bathroom, walk it over to the hamper and put it
Yeah.
away. If it takes less than 5 minutes, just do it right then. And then you're actually saving yourself time because now you have to go back and pick up this thing that you left. And
Yep.
it's just, you're delaying that 2 or 3
Yeah,
minutes.
and again, you're missing out on the satisfaction of having it clean or picked up or that task completed in that whole stretch of time when you're just kind of putting it off and pushing it off. There's always like the memes or whatever that go around with the stairs. Once it's on the stairs, it's there forever. Or it's like when you put something in the back of your vehicle that you're going to donate.
And you drive around for 2 weeks. leave it
Yeah,
in there.
or 2 months, or whatever, or the returning the soda cans or whatever. So it's just, yes, it's those little extra 30 seconds, a minute, a couple minutes here or there that honestly add up to a huge difference in the household.
It's so funny. I remember when I was young, we used to have these really steep stairs. We lived in an old farmhouse, and my mom bought a basket that it fit on the stairs. It was actually shaped like stairs. And in her mind, she thought you just grab the basket and you carry it upstairs. It actually just became a catch-all because now it wasn't just sitting on the stairs. Now it had a home on the
Yes,
stairs.
that was actually where it was supposed to be.
So anyways, we hope that this was encouraging to you, maybe gave you a few things to think about that could help you keep a tidy home. As I mentioned, we have it's a lived-in home. It's not this pristine. If you stopped over probably on a Sunday afternoon or whatever, our home is not perfect, but we want our home to be a haven, someplace that is welcoming and calming, and just having a tidy home, we hope, helps facilitate that feeling for family members and for those who are visiting our house.
Yeah, and it's like pick what works for you. I mean, there are probably half of the people that are listening or watching this or that we know that would be like, oh my goodness, like I don't know if I could even live there, let alone consider that a nice, clean, tidy home. But again, it's like it's the season we're in, and considering the circumstances with the 4 kids and with just kind of the busy lifestyle, it works for us, and it does. It's very organized in the way that we need it to be organized.
You're saying it's organized chaos, basically.
Yeah, but again, it works, and it's way better than it could be. That's for sure. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
And we have a plan, and we're trying to execute it.
Yep.
So we're just sharing what we're doing in our life in the hopes that it is helpful to you and maybe gives you something that you go, hey, I never thought of it like that. Maybe I should try that.
Yep.
So anyways, any last thoughts before we wind down?
No, I think you got it.
All right. Well, until next time, we want to encourage you to seek God, love your spouse, hug your kids, and stay devoted. Thank you for tuning in to this Devoted Life podcast with James and Shanda. We appreciate your support in sharing biblical, uplifting truths with the world. If you found value in this episode, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us to improve the show, and we'd love to hear from you. Be sure to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. To learn more about how to live a life devoted to God and family, head over to thisdevotedlife.com. You can also follow me, Shanda, on Instagram at devoted_motherhood. Thank you again for listening, and we look forward to seeing you next time on This Devoted Life podcast.